Bill Barr is a bully, and you're paying his paycheck to be a bully. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. So Bill Barr, Asha Rangappa is going off on Bill Barr over on Twitter. Bully Barr, he calls him. He says, you lied about the contents of the Mueller report, redacted material in the Mueller report that revealed that Trump did collude. By the way, we just saw that in the last few days. Interfered with the sentencing of Roger Stone. Worked to try to get the case against Michael Flynn for treason dropped. Dropping the case against Russia, which attacked the U.S. by classifying information to prosecute Russian defendants. Barr testified he doesn't believe that foreign assistance to a campaign is even a crime. Had his Office of Legal Counsel justify blocking a whistleblower complaint. Oversaw his criminal division deciding that secretly extorting a foreign country to investigate a political opponent would not constitute a violation of campaign finance laws. Started an investigation of the investigators into the links between Trump and Russia. Talk about intimidation. Tear-gassed peaceful protesters and clergy members in violation of the First Amendment in front of the church there by the White House, and then lied about it to the press. Has yet to mention the right-wing extremists, the most dangerous domestic terror threat, as testified to by the director of the FBI. But meanwhile has taken the Joint Terrorism Task Force and said, look into Antifa instead. He's fired the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, the guy who, among other things, indicted Donald Trump, Donald Trump was the unindicted co-conspirator in the federal felony crime for which Michael Cohen is in jail, paying off Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. Trump was the guy who ordered that. This prosecutor was also investigating the co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. By the way, Bill Barr's dad gave Epstein his first job teaching kids, and his dad wrote a bizarre novel about sex trafficking in space. I mean, it just doesn't get weirder than this. So sometime back, Jimmy Lohman wrote a piece back, I think it was in the 90s. This was when Bill Barr was the first time he was Attorney General. That this guy is a bully, and he ended his piece for the Daily Beast, a more recent piece, with, I even hesitated to air my childhood grievances with him because they're so trivial and petty compared to the destruction he's wreaked on the vital institutions that sustain our democratic way of life. Serious stuff. And that same Jimmy Lohman, who was bullied by Bill Barr as a child, is now a grown-up lawyer and has been writing about this, and he's on the air with us. Jimmy Lohman. James C. Lohman #1 is his Twitter handle. Jimmy, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's great to be with you.
Thanks for joining us. So, first of all, I'm curious. If you want to recap for us your experience with Bill Barr as a bully, I think probably this is a universal experience. Maybe I'm wrong, but I had a bully in school. His name was Dennis, and he used to beat me up whenever he could, corner me. And when he wasn't beating me up, he was threatening me, particularly in front of other kids. And not just me. There were several other kids that he liked to pick on. There seems to be this bully mentality that has permeated the White House now. Your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about your own experience, because what happened was in 1991, which was like he graduated high school in 67, 2 years before me. So we're talking 24 years after that. I hadn't even given a thought to the man. I come to find out that George Bush Sr. has nominated him to be Attorney General. So imagine you're sitting around and you find out that Dennis has been nominated to be Attorney General of the country.
Right. I mean, my bully, yes.
It was just, totally shocking. I mean, here's this guy who I don't know what whether you're allowed to use the 7, forbidden words on podcasts.
No, you can't.
Yeah, imagine all of them. Imagine all of them. I mean, it was just a shocking moment, and it actually kind of, it conjured my experiences with him that I hadn't thought about for so long, which basically was this. And I've run all this down in my original 1991 column that I submitted to a local campus paper in Tallahassee, the Florida State University affiliated paper, the Florida Flambeau. Actually, it's independent of the university, but serves that community. And I felt like I needed to share, at least with my local citizens, what an atrocity this guy was in our youth. For one thing, there was no explanation for why he would have singled me out as a kid 2 years behind him, who he didn't even know, other than the fact that I wore pro-civil rights buttons. And so he and this other friend of his, used to threaten me and intimidate me, scowl at me, I had to be on the lookout for him in the hallway, basically, because, they'd bump into me when they went past. And basically, they just kind of were menacing. I did my best to stay out of their way. Then it turns out that I went to college 2 years behind Barr also. I went to the same college, to Columbia University in New York City. And when I got to campus, I come to find out that he's already earned a reputation on the Columbia campus for lining up with the New York City riot police to attack anti-war protesters. Remember, we're talking 1969 now, the height of the Vietnam War. My second semester of college was Kent State. So it was a very volatile time on campuses. And Barr was notorious for teaming up with the riot police to attack protesters. And in fact, he has bragged about this in recent interviews, both in an interview, let's see, which one, and with Politico. And I also was reading another story where he was bragging about the fact that they sent, quote, more than a dozen protesters to the hospital. And he actually, it was a New York Times Magazine story that came out a couple of weeks ago, a very, very in-depth article about Barr, where he tells the Times writer that, with a smirk, that he that they were beating up protesters, and they sent more than a dozen to the hospital.
Wow.
So he doesn't even deny being a violent person.
We have about 2 minutes here, Jimmy, until we're going to hit the break here. As an attorney, as somebody who knows Bill Barr, and as somebody who's a fairly astute observer of the political scene, what are your thoughts on bullying as politics? It seems to me like everybody in the White House who has survived, Mike Pompeo, Bill Barr, Mick Mulvaney, these guys are bullies. They were bullies as kids in all probability. We know now that Donald Trump was a bully as a child. Do we now have an administration full of bullies?
It appears that way, although they certainly all cower to Trump. I mean, they don't act like.
But isn't that characteristic of bullies? It's the kiss up, kick down syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a pecking order. I mean, they're bullies in the way they do things. They bully agencies. They bully underlings. They just think the world is theirs to push around. Yeah,
I think that this is part of the crisis that we're experiencing as a nation. And when Trump was talking about what he could do to women, I think that was a dimension of his own bullying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall any administration that was like that. I mean, maybe the Nixon administration was, and I just didn't get it. But it seems like other administrations have had more respect for the rule of law and appropriate political conduct. Or am I wrong?
I'm not. I don't remember any gang of thugs to this extent at all. Nothing close.